Victoria died over 100 years ago, but it doesn't seem that long. And that's partly because the Victorian workers laid the groundwork for a lot of the things we take for granted. Many of us still live in their houses and use the schools and hospitals and other public buildings that they put up. And they built the railways. The Victorian era was the golden age of steam, powered by a lot of really terrible tasks. In Queen Victoria's lifetime, the railways grew from 100 miles of track to 22,000 miles. The railways that transformed the country and industry were built by a massive army of workers. Rail was cutting edge and rail was romantic, but that's only thanks to a labour force willing to do the most unromantic jobs. Every little boy wants to be an engine driver, but on the footplate there was a hierarchy. The driver was top dog. Beneath him was the back-breaking job of fireman, feeding the fire for hours on end. Not many kids wanted to do this. And I can't imagine anyone dreaming of the job below the fireman. The very worst job on the railway was the engine cleaner. But that didn't mean just a tiny bit of spit and polish. This was a job for which you had to get really kitted up. This one's pretty cold, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I can only show you what on the cold one, because what you're going to have to do now, Tony, is actually get inside the firebox.
Get in there?
Get in there, yeah. Off you go.
Right, hands on here.
Hands on there. Feet in.
Feet in here.
Yeah, get your thighs in the hole, and then turn yourself over in the hole. Your hands are now touching the floor.
Yeah.
And then just ease yourself in.
Can't turn round.
Yes, you can.
There we go.
You all right?
Oh.
Right in.
Oh.
You should touch the fire bars with your feet.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Okay, you're in.
Yeah, I can't get them. There we go. There we go.
Now I'll pass in the shovel now.
Yeah. I can't see a thing.
You have to feel your way round.
Yeah.
There's your shovel.
You know what I've realised? If you were going from London to, I don't know, Glasgow, you'd be shifting tons and tons of this stuff, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you shovel about 5 or 6 tons of coal. You don't have to be fit, you know.
God, blimey. You can't get all that much on it, can you? Because otherwise it just all tips back on you.
No, it's right, it's very awkward. Righto, they've got nice clean fire bars now to light the fire on.
I'll tell you what, that is one really disgusting job.
Enjoyed that, did you?
Oh, terrific. How the hell do I get out?
Well, you've got to do a reverse of what you did to get in.
I can't remember what I did.
You've got to turn round and grab that oil tray. Or just crawl out. Enjoy that, are you?
What's next?
I'll show you.
After being in this hole, I was happy to get a breath of fresh air, but not for long. I should have known better and stayed inside. So we're going right under one of these locomotives?
We're going right under now to clean out the ash pan.
Well, it's pretty messy down here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very wet and oily and nasty, dirty.
Would the lads have been down here all day?
Yeah, so there would have been people on a shift system in a big depot, and that would be your job all day long, disposing the engines, which would consist of digging out the fire like we've just done.
Yeah.
And doing the ash pan like I'm going to show you now. You know, as rotten jobs go, it must really qualify for one of the worst, if not the worst. It could be pouring with rain, or it could be freezing cold, very likely in the middle of the night. And this is all you do all day. And the tool I've got in my hand is the ash pan rake.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is to put your ash pan rake right inside here and pull. It's very dusty.
Oh. Wow.
Bit dusty, isn't it? Oh, this is an empty one, by the way.
As far as cleaning jobs go, this really has got to be just about the worst. Oh. It's all in your mouth. Oh. Road building is a huge, expensive, vastly complicated undertaking. Nowadays they've got machinery to do all the heavy lifting, vans to sit in if it tips down, even toilets, for God's sake. In Victorian times, they had to do it all by hand. These men did the hard work. Navvies, so called because they built the navigation canals. They were a wandering army of itinerant labourers. 250,000 of them built the backbone of Victorian Britain, the roads, the canals, docks and sewers, and they built the railways. They lived in shanty towns on the job, on a ration of beer and meat, 2 pounds of meat and a gallon of beer a day. After work, they drank some more, and their job was to dig. So you think digging's easy? What about something like this? It's the size of your average back garden and about 4 metres deep. Imagine digging this by hand. Where on earth would you start? Actually, you start somewhere like this. Originally, this land would have been flat right across the top there like that, and this whole V shape would have been filled up with earth and covered in little bushes and trees, rather like it is now. And then the navvies would have arrived and they'd have started digging down and down and down until finally they got to the level where the track had been dug to further down the line, and all they'd got to do that with was a shovel and a pick and a wheelbarrow and a couple of wooden planks. And if Rob's our 19th century navvy, how would he get all this earth from here right up to the top of the cart?
He would run it up the plank, do a barrow run. You've got 2 ropes there. One would be attached to Rob, the other would be attached to the barrow. And at the top there, you'd have a horse in those days, a well-trained horse to the job.
How much of this stuff would they have had to shift in a day?
Oh, believe it or not, 20 tonnes. Because they were being paid piecework, I mean, that's how they knew that they were moving 20 tonnes.
20 tonnes. How much do you reckon you've got in there, Rob?
1.5 hundredweight.
Do you reckon you could get that to the top?
Yeah, probably.
Go on, then.
He wasn't actually pushing the barrow, of course. There was a horse at the top that was taking the strain. He was steering it. But you've got to think about the slipperiness of the wet plank and all that sort of business. Very, very difficult.
Incredibly dangerous.
Very dangerous indeed. Very dangerous. If the horse took fright or suddenly refused to do what it was supposed to do, and the barrow would lose momentum, suddenly, you know, probably the barrow would go one side and the man would go the other. That was one of the many dangers attached to making a cutting. It was said that every mile of track claimed a life.
That was the price that was paid?
That was the price that was paid. Life was cheap. Yeah.
Shall I have a go?
Yeah.
Can you bring it back down?
Yeah.
Let me hold my coat. The irony was that because the barrow run was so dangerous, the bosses put in new machines to do the same job, but the guys hated them because they were on piece rate, and so they could earn much more money, cheers Rob, from doing it with the barrow, so they smashed